குக்கரி சேனலை பார்த்து யார் வேணாலும் சமையல் பண்ணலாம். ஆனா சுவையான சமையல் பண்றது எப்படி? நான் இதயம் நல்லெண்ணெயில சமையல் பண்றேன். ஆஹா ஓஹோன்னு பாராட்டுறாங்க. நீங்களும் இதயம் நல்லெண்ணெயில சமையல் பண்ணுங்க, பாராட்ட வாங்குங்க.
தினம் தோறும் வாங்குவே இதயம்.
Highly evolved and thoughtful people on the stage, Nataraj ji, Ramchandran ji, Dharmasena ji and Nagaraj ji. I come here at the halfway mark of the program, and I'm also, before I start, I heard something which I would understand. One was that I'm an ideologue. I'm not an ideologue at all. In Sangha there is no ideologue, nor I influence Sangha policies. Secondly, I heard the word that why RSS is fighting BJP. I'm sorry to say I've been defending BJP for the last 11 years on TV, in articles, everywhere. So no, RSS is not fighting BJP. BJP is fighting within itself. Coming to the main topic, actually, I understand it's very difficult to sit for so long in a program where you just listen and try not to sleep. So though I prepared for 1 hour speech, understanding the time limitation, I try to cut corners and do it in 30 minutes. And also, I always look forward to question answer. So by reducing my speaking time, I would like to find some time for question answer. Actually, people, we heard that it is better to keep your mouth shut, to think you are a wise man, rather than to open and show that you are not. Despite this, I've taken this risk because this platform has been a platform very high level intellectual people. So I'm just beginning in front of them. It is a different matter to speak for 2 minutes and express your opinions than to speak for 45 minutes and let people guess what you're trying to say. But then I took it up because I have always been critical that integral humanism or Ekatma Manav Darshan, it is not ism, it's a darshan or philosophy, has been expounded a lot, talked a lot, but its practical implementation on the ground is something on which we have not really come up with many solutions, very models. Having said that, I thought this is the platform where I could perhaps elaborate the topic further, so I've taken the challenge. I hope I don't fail you. And I will first give a perspective. Marx and Engels presented communism in 1867 as a utopia. Though they misread the dialectics of the period, they gained huge following, and in 1917 Russian Bolshevik Revolution took place. Comintern was formed in 1919. Despite the inherent weakness of Marxism and communism, China also had a revolution in 1949. So within 40 years, fans of Marxian thought tried on the ground, implementing the communist ideas on the ground. It was miserable. Millions of people lost their lives. Millions of people had a horrible life. And they lost their lives because they thought they could not understand what Lenin or Marx or Mao wanted to say. Despite this, it was theory that this thing was not working out. In the meanwhile, neo-Marxian Gramsci left behind his own interpretation of Marxian thought. Interpretation of the history and culture upside down. He had a totally different interpretation of the idea of what Marx said, and he turned the whole idea upside down. He was imprisoned in 1926. He was in jail till he died in 1937. But his ideas, which were about 3,000 pages, were revolutionary in the sense they changed the entire complexion of the coming times in how the intellectual discourse or academic discourse will happen, how politics will change. And this discovery, which was done in 1937, converted to cultural studies in Birmingham School in UK in 1964. It came to India by 1980. Now look at the way things are moving. Parallel at the same time, in 1965, Deendayal Upadhyaya expounded the theory of integral humanism. or Ekad Manav Darshan. Unfortunately, he died within a year of expounding that particular theory. But this theory had a very long background of successful Indian model of Arthashastra. It was not written in vacuum like what Marx and Engels had done or what Gramsci had said. But having said that, there were people who expounded the idea. Dattopant Thengdi of one of the best minds in Sangha forever. And there was Dr. Bokhare, who was a communist turned Hindutva economist, who wrote Hindu economics. So then Dattopantji went a step ahead, also introduced Swadeshi Jagran Manch in 1993 to to resist globalization the way it was. Now, having done all this, still we didn't have enough of models that was done. Then there came Ravindra Mahajanji with his book on National Policy Studies, Center for Integral Studies and Research, and he took out a book with his friends in 2013, explaining at length on every aspect of integral life of a society, what can be done in what segment. And he covered a very long list of items, for example. So, before we get into that, I'd like to start where actually this idea of integral humanism started. It started with the RSS prayer, where we say, Param Vaibhavanne Tume Tattva Rashram. So what is that Param Vaibhav? What is this, prosperity we talk about? So from that, Guruji said that we have to define it, we have to work on it. And see, Communist Party talked about stateless society. Marx talked about 3 stages: dictatorship of proletariat, then he talked about revolution, dictatorship of proletariat, then he said dissolution of or withering of the state. He never explained in the detail. But this utopia didn't work. He did not define it. And he said that why should we define what is going to be, how it is going to be implemented? Because communists of today, what they talk about future will not be listened to by the communists of coming ages. So I don't want to define what utopia would be. That means he had no model. So though I am talking a lack of blueprint of integral humanism, there is no blueprint for communist also. So when we talk of Param Vaibhav, we are not talking of just desires of earth and kama. We are talking of 2 more dimensions, earth and kama. We talk of dharma and moksha. So that is how it differs, and that is where we differ from communists. Both capitalism and socialism, capitalism talk about physical well-being, material well-being of the human being, but they don't talk about the other 2 dimensions. The difference is who will own the means of production. While communists say that state will control, which means a few leaders of Communist Party will control the means of production. Capitalists said private citizen will own the means of production, and we will only see to it that he or she does their work with full liberty, law protecting all the rights. Now from there on, if you see, Dattopantji also notes the fallacy of Marx. He says the precondition of Marx was that the capitalist industrial society must come before communism is brought in, because communism cannot prosper in a poor country, and all the third countries are poor. So when you have revolution in third world countries, you're actually distributing poverty, not wealth. And today we are trying to do that through freebies, so it doesn't work. And Guruji then persuaded Deendayal Upadhyaya to look at it. I will not get into the details because all of you who are here, we are masters of Deendayal Upadhyaya. It's like, student trying to teach principles about what is integral humanism. And looking at the people who clap very gently, it seems most of you are swayamsevaks. So we also read enough of Deendayal Upadhyaya. So I will not go through the detail of how it was defined, what was defined. I will leave it to your understanding. But Guruji's one sentence which talked about Sahasra Shisha Purush Shastraksha, Sahasra Patar, which is written in Rigved, which means he looked at the Samaj as a Virat Purush, where all of us are part of that Virat Purush and connected to each other. From there he went ahead to define what is integral humanism. In fact, asked Deendayalji to work on it. So I will leave that aside, but I will come to a particular stage where Guruji talked about integral humanism at length in 1972 in Thane, his last meeting in Mumbai. So I'm just pointing those, I'm giving those points which Dattapanji noted from that particular lecture. All the basic needs of every citizen should be satisfied. This I'm talking about what integral humanism should be in practice. Point 2 is that accumulate wealth, but its purpose should be to serve the society, that is manifestation of Paramatma. Therefore, use it to the minimum for self. To keep more than what is required is kind of theft from the society. Where he talked about Kena Taktena Bhunjita, you take what you have, but don't try to accumulate more. We are trustees of the society. If we understand this, we can serve the society well. There should be a limit to how much an individual can accumulate. No person has a right to profit from exploitation of his fellow beings. He goes on to say, when crores of people are hungry, then exhibitionist waste of money is a sin. Consumerism is against Hindu Samskriti. Our theme should be maximum production and ethical, equitable distribution. Employment and underemployment should be ended on war footing. Therefore, we should try to create more employment and not go for capital-intensive plants. Industrialization is very important, but we should not follow this blindly like the West. We should milk the nature, not exploit it. We should nurture the nature and balance its use. We have responsibility for the coming generations. Education, environment, economics, and ethics should be considered in an integral manner. They are not separate, because today we are talking of education ministry, we are talking of many other ministries. Actually, they are all one. Look at them as a one integral whole. We should develop technologies that will help our skilled artisans to produce better. Swadeshi technique should be preferred. Decentralized production that could help homes to become factories. Labor force is also a resource. They should be valued like any other resource. They should be uplifted to the level of shareholders. Society is the third component of industrial relations. So consumer interests are as important as national interests from economic point of view. There should be no strict law about ownership pattern of the industry. It could be any type, individual company, state ownership, joint ownership, depending on the industry. Any economic structure is fine as long as it is aligned to dharma. But no structure is good for society if the people are not aligned to national good. For us, there is no conflict or struggle between the individual and the society. Our principle is harmony, cooperation. This sanskara that nation and us are integral and integrated to is the basis of any socio-economic structure. Then Dattopanji adds some of the points to guide this further. What I am quoting is from third way and from Guruji. Now Dattopan says, we are ancient nation that has wealth of heritage of Samskriti, that has rich language like Sanskrit. We do not have to loan words from the West. Now this is conceptual thinking which has very deep meaning. Western thinkers and disciples in Bharat think that every nation will go through the same sequence of development through which the Western world has passed. This is not true. Every nation will have some solution is a wrong idea. Gurudev Rabindranath Tagore has noted that God has given each nation different question papers. Therefore, we should not copy others blindly. All the nations have to find their own answers. We do not believe that Western view is the best view of the development and growth. We do not believe that to be Western is to be modern. Then he says this is also not true that everything that is happening in the West is bad. Truth has no caste or class or nationality. We will have to evaluate their knowledge and tradition and adopt those ideas with changes that suit as per our requirements. We will have to mold Western ideas as per knowledge, tradition, our knowledge traditions. Injustice, inequality and exploitation can be spoken in our own words. Depending on the words from where the words come, they carry psychological legacy, so they carry different messages. So look at the depth at which Dattopanji expounded this idea. We have full faith in our Samskriti that we can find solutions to our mankind's problems. Today it may look ridiculous, but we can say this humbly that we can find our own solutions. He said this in somewhere in 80s because the book was published in 1995. And then he quotes Pandit Deendayal Upadhyaya, who says that actually in Ekatma Jivan Darshan is based on Sanatan Dharma. We have confidence that we can create our own socio-economic systems. So from there on, I'll move on to further as I go. I have quoted many things here, but I'll leave it because of the lack of time. But Dharampalji, through his research, has proven that we were the wealthiest country in the world because we were scientifically conscious, energetic, spiritually rich. We had decentralized social and economic systems in place. Wealth distribution was more equitable because of collective strength and distribution of wealth through traders, guilds, and excellent logistics from producing by the artisans to the mouth of the ports and other parts of the country. I read somewhere that once there was about a month's traffic jam in Bharat because of the traffic on the roads from south to north or from north to ports of Mumbai and south. So this is how big the business was at that time. And as I move further, inspiration behind this entire discussion is Swadeshi thinking and working on the base of Swa. Our selfhood as Indians or Bharatiyas, Swadeshi system, Swadeshi thinking, Swadeshi industries, Swadeshi technologies, and we can be equal to anywhere in the world with anybody. Then Deendayal ji says very clearly, no policy, no idea is permanent or unchangeable. Directions are permanent, policies are not. They are reinterpreted based on prevailing situation in the society. Now, I'll come to how these ideas have been further improved upon by many of the thinkers. Third way, of course, Dattopant's book is already there. Then I talked about Ravindra Mahachand's and his team's Center for Integral Studies and Research National Policy Papers. So these papers cover every kind of, because it is integral humanism talking about. So in the book, he writes about social sustenance, development, education policy, economic policies, agriculture policies, national policy for science, technology, national policy for governance, land use policy, land acquisition, resettlement, and national policy of cooperatives, full employment, labor policy, national security policy, and foreign policy. The study stresses on cooperative industrial ecosystem similar to guild system that we had when we ruled the global economy. And if you see, the book was published in 2013. Modi ji had not yet come to power. So if he were clever like any leftist author and his team, they would have claimed that Modi is copying their ideas and implementing in new economy in the last 10 years. But we are Sanghi people who don't claim credit. Whether one agrees with the various propositions of thinkers or not, this compendium, we must appreciate that after many decades, some think tank has laid down basic policy directives in this book. And some of the ideas are quite leftist if you really look at this. And why they are leftist, I'll explain. I many times say that actually we should not divide our ideas in Bharat, leftists and rightists, because we are very different. And the reason is we are a unique civilization. Culturally we are dharmic, we are not right-wing. Because by the right-wing mean people who are extremists, who are exclusivists. So when you call yourself right-wing, you get yourself branded with Islamists, you get yourself branded with Ku Klux Klan, the racist organizations, but we are not, we are dharmic. Economically, we are more left than right. It is surprising, but why I'm saying so, Hindu thought is right because it believes in free enterprise, least government control, it believes in decentralized industrial model, it is uniquely Bharatiya as it talks of rights of small artisans, micro and small medium industry and differential treatment to all of them. It talks of inalienable right of the Vanvasis. It is left when it talks about workers' participation in the management, suggests that they share the shareholders in industry, first right of workers to take over sick industry before offers are made by other investors. This is why we should avoid the trap of being called right wing or be calling us a right wing. It's a reflex. People say left wing is okay, we are right wing, but we are not. Then there is another book which I might like to quote is M.R. Venkatesh's book, Retaining the Balance, the Eternal Way. Now this book takes the idea of Deendayal ji further because he says that family should be center of a society and policy making. We talked of individual, we talked about individual being the center of thinking, Antyodaya, all that is fine, but he goes a step ahead. He says family is the unit of any financial activity because Bharat lives and survives because of family. No other ideology, Islam, Christianity or communism gives importance to the family. That's part of the book. I will not get in detail because of lack of time. In fact, ideas have actually led to decay of the family system. And that is the reason for decay of those societies. It is because these lacunae, we see the cycle of inflation and recession in capitalist societies. As technologies increase the velocity of transactions and capital movement, the cycles have become more frequent and lesser cycle time. You look at 2003, 2008, that every 5 years now, because cycle time used to be 30 years, then it came to about 10 years. Now it happens every 3 years. Reason is because we are depending more on individualistic way of working and less as a family unit. He quotes Center for Management Eco Research at Ecole Polytechnic, where he says during good economic times, family-run companies do not earn as much money as compared to companies with a more dispersed ownership structure. But when the economy slumps, family firms far outshine their peers. Average long-term financial performance was higher for family businesses than the non-family businesses in every country that they studied, and they studied 7 countries. So that is the importance of family. Economic terms, the concept of household is an economic unit that lives together, shares resources of common benefit. The family consumes together, gaining benefit of the society of economy of scale. The family raises children and cares for the old and the sick. It allocates capital resources between its members, generating investment in both enterprise and in education. It allows risk sharing between members, ensuring temporary downturn doesn't permanently damage an individual member's prospect. Now think of COVID. Think of how we fared in COVID compared to other economies, compared to other people. And then if you look at the household that saves, the corporate don't save money. It's the household that saves money. I'll come back to figures later on. So that is very important that we let the household save, and Professor Vaidyanathan talks about it a lot. I'll come to that later. A disciplined family ensures equitable, functional, sustainable society. Simultaneously, both family and society prevent an individual from committing excesses. Culture is about restraint, as stressed by Hindu philosophy. Then I come to the next stage, where National Bureau of Economic Research very importantly says family functions such as production of food, clothing and fuel, and some other staple items were taken over by business firms. We have seen in India also. And responsibilities such as education, childcare, and social insurance have been assumed by the state. NBR meant business firms and state together robbed the families of the functions, leaving them functionless and therefore dysfunctional. Decline of family and growth of government will jeopardize the market system, associated social, political, cultural freedom. In the long run, a healthy economy requires a healthy society. So in words of Professor Vaidyanathan, we heard him many times say, it's best nationalize the family and privatize the economy. That is the root cause of poor condition of economies today in West. I talk about Dr. Subramanian Swamy, the economist, not the politician. So, in his book Reset, Regaining India's Economic Legacy, he dedicates a chapter to integral humanism. I really said he's talk about Chitti because we have talked about Chitti anyway. But he says that if we have to first list out various complementarities, how things can work together, they can clash with each other. So he gives an idea. So there is a calculus of cost benefit when you build anything in the society. So for example, a bee farm near a honey manufacturer is a complementarity. But when you talk about setting up a fertilizer plant and oil refinery, then you have conflicting complementarities. How you trade off between the benefit and the cost of these plants, how you take it away from the city. All that planning happens because you look at them as cost benefit for the society, for the larger good. Now I come to the implementation of integral humanism at the practice in government level that is happening today. The first person to implement Antyodaya was Bhairav Singh Shekhawat. The old people know 1977 he became the chief minister for the first time. And whenever he became chief minister, he was the first to carry forward this idea of integral humanism with Antyodaya. And it was very successful. In India Today article in November 2023, they say the BJP is more than 4 decades of existence has faced criticism for not being able to clearly determine its economic philosophy. The Modi government is largely in concurrence with Thengdi's beliefs. Sir, for you. After the pandemic, PM Modi officially adopted Dattopant's vision of Dattopant Thengdi's vision of Swadeshi as the government's motto of self-reliance. The good thing about Thengdi's idea was that it allowed them to evolve over time along with the global developments. In the post-pandemic world, his beliefs are holding their own. This is India Today. I had written in December 2016 that Modi is implementing the idea of integral humanism, and then I was told just 2 days back that Modi spoke about it in 2015 in a TV interview, saying that what I am doing is actually implementing Deendayal Upadhyaya's integral humanism. We see the policies, we like the policy, but don't see underlying importance of his thought where he is trying to implement Deendayal Upadhyaya's integral humanism. Deendayal ji said, Chitti is the soul of nation. On the strength of his Chitti, a nation rises, strong and virile. It is this Chitti that is demonstrated in the action of every great man of a nation. Secret of success of the nation lies in the understanding of Chitti, its innate nature. Chitti is the touchstone on which every action, every attitude is tested, determined to be acceptable or otherwise. Since our new rulers after independence didn't have this sense of history and civilizational memory, we were contaminated by the Western-oriented masses interpretation. They believed they were crafting a new nation and a new culture based on Western model. They didn't have to as tried and tested cultural heritage of India. They had no clue at all. We know that. The basic struggle today is that one section of Hindutva or the society believes that we were eternal nation born maybe 10,000 years back and continuously surviving. Other side believes that we were born on 15th August 1947. That is the crux of the debate that is currently going on. So what happened is that Modi was the one who recognized and understood Chitti of Bharat. If you look at PM Modi's actions carefully, you will find that his entire view on Indian political economy is based on Chitti of the nation, which was break from the past, which many people didn't recognize. Now let us see what happened before Modi ji came in. Fabian socialism called mixed economy by Nehru brought in 1947 that lasted till 1990 when we were nearly bankrupt. Empowerment of farmers began with green revolution initiated by Lal Bahadur Shastri in 1965, and they became rich, they became affluent because of policy. Rajiv Gandhi tried some liberalization, but then he also went in for a lot of welfare measures, and we became nearly bankrupt, and we had to take 67 ton of gold to UK to get some relief. From 1990 to 2009, liberalization took a decisive left turn. Again, 2004 to 2014, we tried to turn left again. Governments turned left, people remained right in terms of economic thought. And from 2014, we say distinct shift to Bharati Chitti. That is how we have moved. Now look at how he has done. So according to integral humanism, an individual is a center of scheme of things. No individual is isolated and island by itself. So when you talk of Antyodaya, he talked about, let us see how Modi ji implemented Antyodaya, gave dignity of life to people. I'll just name them because of, so Swachh Bharat Abhiyan we know. But what is important that nearly 5 to 7 lakh innocent lives, mortality of the young children was avoided. It's a science magazine paper they talked about. Housing for all, we know the numbers. Jan Dhan Yojana, I was just reading now while you were speaking, 2.31 lakh crores were deposited in Jan Dhan Yojana. So it's not some poor people we say what are they going to do in bank. 2.31 lakh crores have been deposited in Jan Dhan Yojana. Farmers' financial security is workable crop insurance, better irrigation, soil health card, Kisan Sanman Nidhi, again giving dignity, Kisan credit card, which is to keep away Kisan from money lenders of small amount that it struggled about. Cooking gas, we were taking from black market, we didn't have cooking gas, we always said we would muscofy somebody saying, take some money, give me a cylinder, now we have cylinder freely available. And women in villages are able to have more time available apart from cooking with wood. Har Ghar Nal, again wasteful labor of women conserved for more productive use. So for the first time, Roti Kapda aur Makan became a reality. Previous government did something, but it was so slow that by the time they would do something, the population would go beyond that. So it was no more a slogan. And as the international studies tell us, 250 million people have come out of extreme poverty in last 10 years. That is due to all these factors that have gone into it. And now look at the social security inclusion schemes. Affordable low-cost insurance, health insurance schemes. Then you have low-cost Atal Pension Yojana and accident policies. We have Stand Up India to support social groups who are on the margins of the society. Skill India, which allows artisans to get better, not just better skill, but also they get full support for their job, for their loan if they want to go for it. Then we have the scheme of Uttar Pradesh, which is one district, one product. What it has done, it has made every kind of artisan very powerful. He is able to make more money. And there is again revival of the artisan class. We sometimes look at demonetization as something that has really not worked. But if you really think about it, why did middle class and poor actually went ahead and never complained? Because they believe there is level playing field now. Even they as honest people can actually look forward to a better future because the people who had black money were also standing in queue. So the psychological benefit what it was, and then you have Ayushman Yojana. Now all this, where does it lead to? Apart from Antyodaya, it also leads to preserving institution of family. Because for a poor person to have a sick man at home is as good as bankruptcy. When you have this Ayushman Yojana, you suddenly find you can live with your parents, you can take care of your parents. So this is how these things work. Don't look at just in the terms of economy, also look in terms of psychological way families can go. Now if you look at the growth engines of Bharat, you have we have the highest per capita shops added 20-30 years back. So we are basically entrepreneurs. We don't like to serve others. Somebody serving, ask anybody. Of course, there are Marwadis never serve, and who go to some shop to work someday, then say, boss, mujhe bhi dukaan khulna hai. I also want to open shop. So that is the kind of thinking. So when Modi ji talked about Pakode Wala, it was not meant to be derided as many people did, but it was to understand that we are basically entrepreneurial. We'll make pakodas, we'll shine shoes, but we'll be on our own. So this, to take it up, there is Startup India, so people can start, various kind of activities, various kind of jobs and various kind of businesses. So that is one thing. Then we have Mudra loans, biggest employment created ever in history of India, where people got loans from any amount up to 2 lakhs. Now it was 50,000 earlier on. Then he also introduced Vishwakarma Yojana, which was skill recognition, reskilling, toolkit, incentive, and easy credit and marketing support for the artisans. So these are all schemes which actually, if you look at them, are all fulfilling the ideas of integral humanism. It also gives importance of village republics. We survived all these years despite slavery and all that, because villages are republic. They were self-dependent units, which is brought out many times by Dharampalji and many other. So over-centralization of power with central state government saw the village panchayats going powerless bodies. But the blame goes much earlier. When Gandhiji wrote to Nehru, when the new constitution was made, he said, where is the Panchayat Raj? Because his idea of democracy was panchayats, they will elect the state bodies, they will elect the central bodies. Nehru didn't follow it. So when he reminded him, Nehruji said, he snubbed Gandhiji. He said, Gandhiji, I read your idea many years back. It didn't strike me at that time, and I don't find it very interesting. So we don't have time for it. So there is a Panchayati Raj was given up. Then Rajiv Gandhi brought it up. But now because of the delays, Panchayati Raj people kept on shifting to cities and towns, and we found ghettos coming up. To break that, you needed something more important, say road connectivity. You have availability of power, communication, which when people sit at village now, they say, I've got everything, I can talk to anybody, I can work anywhere. Your example of Vembuji, who has actually shifted his entire Sridhar Vembu, entire IT industry from slick US and Singapore to backyards of Tamil Nadu. Exact example of what infrastructure and broadband connectivity can do for you. And you further look at it, the Sagar Mala, which is basically connecting all the ports around Bharat. We have the longest possible sea coast. So instead of just looking at them as some entertainment area, some fishermen, now if you have connectivity there, fishermen can look at more jobs, better jobs, because anyway fishing is shrinking because of corporate interference in the fishing market also. And the digital infrastructure by February 2024, 2.1 lakh villages had broadband connectivity, fiber connectivity, which allowed them to do anything they want to do with the government, with e-governance, and also schemes, etc. We know that crores of rupees are sent through crores of accounts to people directly digitally. That is the power of digitalized economy. Then not only that, Modi ji also introduced ONDC, Open Network for Digital Commerce, which is a very powerful tool. We talked of UPI, but this is an open market which is costing zero cost for the artisans, for the artists, or any shopkeeper, anybody to display their products in the market rather than going to Flipkart or Amazon, etc. is picking up very well. There is a taxi service which is totally on ONDC, so they don't charge you commission, etc. So this is how slowly we find that everybody is touched by these policies, which basically you know, the last person in the queue, which goes to the people in village, which goes to small people, and the whole idea of giving dignity to the person, being the center of the universe, is how Modi ji has done it. And even the Swadeshi idea, that is go global with localization, Modi ji called it local. So Swadeshi was picked up, and the result is that we have got mobiles now, we have got semiconductors, defense equipment being made in India. And if you look at indigenous national security force, I didn't elaborate that point earlier. Deendayal talked about indigenous national security forces, strong forces, he wanted nuclear power, and also very strong diplomatic relations. So if you look at what Modi and DRDO, which was hardly visible, has become one of the strongest units of Bharat. Hindustan Aeronautics, which was a kind of drain on the exchange, has become profitable. And we are having so many activities from private investors in defense that we are now leading there, and we are indigenizing a fearful force. We are indigenizing our production. Not only that, first village of is the border village, a concept which nobody considered earlier on. We said border area, so it is border area. Nobody bothered about them. Modi ji said it's not last village; it's the first village of India. So by strengthening the people, because ultimately people on the border are the real security. When Kargil happened, it was the local people who said there is something happening there, not our forces. So the importance of villages in the border cannot be, cannot be stressed more. And Modi ji understand that also. When we come to respecting nature, where we talk about integral life, where we say we are one with the nature, and various discussion that integral humanism also does. Now, what we did that from the practice of, the Western practice is that God has given us nature to exploit. Allah ne diya hai khana, you enjoy the nature, you enjoy everything, animals, creatures, trees, plants, and then suddenly West realizes we have nothing left. So they start talking about preserving the nature. So their idea of preserving the nature is out of their own urge to save themselves. Our idea of preserving the nature was that we knew that we are part of the nature, we have to live with nature, so we must preserve the nature. We look at, based on that, Modi ji started a campaign of zero emission, net emission by 2017. No country has taken that commitment. He also asserted lifestyle for environment, how to change your lifestyle. While rich people in the WF, World Economic Forum, had wonderful, talking shop in Davos, which is basically economically very fragile. And they could not come to any decision for years together. Modi started International Solar Alliance. It is at 120 members now. He has given every kind of boost to every bioenergy. There is biofuels, there is hydrogen-based fuel, etc. For a nation which is on the rise, which is not one of the top economic powers of the world, to go for this change is tremendous if you seriously look at what he has done. In education, Guruji said that importance of education, because if any system can fail if people are not good. So to have good people, Shiksha in modern world means bringing out the qualities of a person he has. So RSS defines this Vyakti Nirman, creating a human being. That is the importance of education. And what happened that we had a system by Macaulay which we further strengthened in 1948. And the first change in education policy was brought out after 34 years. And where we are focusing on education, grounded education, we are talking multifaceted induction of richness of Bharatiya culture, Bharatiya knowledge, and also education in mother tongue. Vocation-based training has become a reality in the new education policy. And when you look at cooperative sector, for the first time, we have one of the most powerful ministers of cooperative sector who believe that cooperative sector is what going to push the economy further. Amit Shah is handling that cooperative sector. And that's the first time we got a very powerful minister handling a very low profile ministry. Then the book of Mahajan also talked about Karmacharis being retrained as Karma Yogis. Modi ji did that. There is a special capacity building commission in PMO, which is handled by one of the persons from Karnataka, where they are saying that we will convert these Karmacharis to Karma Yogis, because the problem with the government servant is that they know where to stop your file with red marks. They don't know how to solve the problem. So they are using the law to stop the work. Modi ji says use the law to tell the people how to go through and do something. And I come to next stop, which is the idea of Professor Vaidyanathan, who talks of caste as social capital. He says complex place of caste in Indian society, where he gives example of successful models of manufacturing, banking, trade, of caste or jati. I am not talking about the casteism of caste, I am talking about jati. So there are nadar, there are various other reservoirs, etc. So by freezing caste and creating friction between different communities or jatis, in the name of caste, we are weakening strong pillar of Indian economic models. He says companies are often governed by sense of community for an increased trust factor of caste community based on financing and risk mitigation. In Tamil Nadu, people are aware of this, but he gives the example of Tirupur Gounders manufacturing knitted garments, Shivakasi Nadas manufacturing matches, and Surat Patels working in diamond trade. So these clusters which provide business, because of the community feeling, they are able to give much better success to economic models of their own community. So he calls it Vaishyaization of the community. That is, commercialization of the community as a strong, powerful factor in giving a better, economic model. And also, when you look at the life beyond broad ideas, we need to now connect all these ideas that Modi ji adopted or Professor Vedana talked about, that we are there, we are reaching that point of integral humanism where we thought we are only talking policy, we are only talking theory, but no, we are not talking theories. There are leaders who are actually implementing on the ground. But it's not everything is fine. So where do we lag in implementation? Professor Vaidyanathan wrote a book, India Incorporated. Many people who have read it. He says, stressing for a long time that Bharatiya economic growth engine is that Indian incorporated segment, which is not even given even support by the governments. Now there are some BJP people who tell me this is not correct, but actually that's true. I have enough examples that MSME, the real growth model of any economy, where majority of employment, majority of export, majority of production done by MSME, they are not getting the kind of support that we need to give them, because family run and partnership business are much stricter laws to follow than as compared to corporates in terms of collateral, in terms of dealing with the banks. So that's that is a current situation there. Now if you look at savings, in 2011 household saving in gross domestic savings was 40%. So what you see as savings, 40% savings done by the households. Now it has reached 60%, when the DGP declined from 7 to 5% with middle class spending more money on assets. But real engine of economic growth is household savings, which has reached 60%. And when you compare to FDI investment, in 2015 it was 2.09% of the entire GDP. And we keep on talking of FDI. In 2020 it has fallen to 0.71%. So FDI is not what is driving our economy. It is the household saving that is driving the economy. So we need to give support to that. In fact, Professor Vedanath many times says that we should have statues of housewives at every chalk in every village and every town, because they are the one who are actually running the economy. And if you look, now you look at the investment in stocks. We were investing just 1% in 2011 of entire savings. Now it has reached 4.8%. But worldwide, in USA for example, household invest 61% of the savings in stock market. So again you see that because of this conservative nature of Indian society, we are having this powerful, capital in hand, which is actually fueling our economy. Now look at the chit fund business. Many are not aware that chit fund was supposed to be illegal in 1982. And chit fund is there since time immemorial. In fact, British official in the 19th century talked about chit funds in Malabar area in Kerala. So with that chit funds, we were able to fuel all the small traders, all the small businesses, because there is no official financing available from the bank. Banks don't treat households or individuals in very kind manner. Chit funds is what saved those businesses, and that is how they thrive. If you look at it, Tamil Nadu is actually biggest center of chit funds, but government never supported enough. Now slowly, if you look at NPS also, chit funds are lowest NPS compared to banks. MSME has much lower failure rate as compared to corporates in terms of NPAs. So that our situation is, and 57% of total workforce comes from self-employment. So when I talked about why Indians are more self-employed, now what is happening? The new political environment is government job. But actually that is not how we progress. We progress by self-employment, and that is why this stress on this mudra loan, etc. We have to look at the level playing field. We have different kind of problems. Now 10 crore company and a 10,000 crore company have same compliances. In case of pollution, what I have to do for 10 crore company, same thing is done by 10,000 crore company. How is it possible for me to invest that kind of money on compliance of pollution control example, which is very costly affair. So if we don't have a differential way of treating these statutory laws for the small companies, you can understand the predicament that is facing this MSME. That is an area where we need to work. There is again an area where we need to work is TDS, GST, where people have these fake accounts, they disappear. Then the person who has actually paid, he has to pay the penalty. Not the person who registered himself for the TDS for GST. Now government has taken all the Aadhaar card, PAN card, etc. from them. It is for them to chase the person who disappeared, not the person who actually with the trust actually paid the GST and also paid the TDS. So these are the areas where more work needs to be done. Yeah, he talked about small dams and lakes, etc., which is now being very popular. And now, what is actually the situation? See, left, despite not being power for a very long time, and they had no even understanding that they will ever get power. They got power in 2010, 2004 via UPA. They were part of the government. So they had ready models, they had ready schemes to get implemented from that government. So we look at right to education, we look at right to information, we look at forest resident bill, we look at communal violence bill. These were the policy papers ready with them. They also had a ready solution that in right to education we will also exemption for the minorities. When we talk of this government last 10 years have been able to give those kind of ready-made policy papers that the communists were able to give. That is a lacuna there. In education also, okay, NEP took 8 years to be designed. But for 10 years, we could not even give them textbooks to the government saying, okay, these are textbooks as per Bharatiya knowledge, please implement them. We didn't do that. And if you look at temples, temples are center of education, culture, heritage, preservation of Vedic knowledge, and also education. They are controlled by government. So we have thousands of crores which are used for government development projects or for wrong use. I'm not getting to prasadam now. But this money that is there, which is fund which is contributed by Hindus, is not used for Hindu purpose, for education, for art, for culture. So if that happens, you look at the way this can actually improve the condition of society. And another interesting point is Dattopant Henry talked very long back about the emerging technologies. He quoted an author where he says that we are traveling at breakneck speed in a train with our back against the directional speeding train, without a driver, with hundreds of switches, not knowing which switch will do which function. So we need an ombudsman who will see to it that technology is not used in wrong manner. Now this becomes very important when we talk of AI. We have been talking a lot of artificial intelligence, but the way it is growing, we do not know whether it will manipulate human beings and what will happen to the large number of population which are average. So there will be elite people, Brahmins of technology who will control AI, who will do the technology part. There will be vast chunk of population which will be average people who are sweepers, clerks and all those things. Where will they go with this AI? So these are the issues which need to be looked at. These are the issues which actually affect individual person, our welfare, and if you have not found ombudsman met, that is also required. So ultimately I will say that integral humanism entering into our daily lives, as we know in our national life, we have to look beyond these shallow debates we see on TV or we discuss kuch nahi ho raha, kuch nahi ho raha. So the traditional people understand that what is happening today in the Indian economy is basically implementation of old ideas that they understood from their grandfathers and grandmothers, which new generation doesn't understand. So we have to bring these ideas of Hindu economics to mainstream. We have to create more and more models. And ultimately, nanny state is not the answer. It is a sensitive state. We don't keep on supplying welfare measures to people, freebies and all. We are sensitive to people's requirement, and we see to it that individuals grow and become a powerhouse. That is the whole direction of integral humanism. That is the whole direction that we need to give to the economy. With this, I have closed my words. Thank you very much.